Royalties of peace, stealing the storm back to peace that has no storm, looking unto perfect peace. How we all doing today? Another beautiful day to honor our process of healing. Our process of healing. Peace stealing the storm. Peace stealing the storm. The peace treaty of a battlefield is peace stealing the storm. Today is June 19th of 2023. 2 years of honoring Juneteenth. How did Juneteenth become enabled? June plus 19 put together to make the word Juneteenth. Do I say wade in the water? Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God has already troubled the water. When trouble is peace of mind, God has already troubled the water. The weight in the water you feel is only fictional, so keep on moving. Keep on moving, yeah, keep on moving. God has already troubled the water. Oh, the blacks of latter days. The blacks of latter days. What is slave? What is slave? What is being enslaved? To our present state of being, of solution giving. When the complicated chains and necklaces of gold and glitters, not of bruises and pain, but jewelries. When the world becomes complicated, it is the mindset of humanity that needs to be worked upon. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. The wade in the water is only fictional, for God has already troubled the water. Our ancestors have already enabled the solution to our problems. We cannot stay stagnant in the complicated. A journey of civil rights of a black race. Freedom. Freedom is free. What is expensive is enslaving someone. What is the point of not breathing when you can breathe? When cruelty is expensive and freedom is cheap, would you not rather dwell with what is cheap? When what is cheap is what you cannot purchase, that is given for free. The cheapest of all is even more valuable than the most expensive. What is called worth? What is worth? It's time for us to reflect on what is worth. Air you cannot buy is cheap, too expensive to pay for is cheap. Only self will deprive self from freedom, from breathing air that is free. We are air. How do we buy ourselves? How do we put ourselves in little vessels and lock them up? How do we enslave ourselves? Have you ever heard of a bird that perches in a cage? Of all trees, we choose to perch in a cage and lock self up, calling for help. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Enough of locking self up, of a complicated. The dilemma must be seized by reversing to of jubilee. The tribulation must reverse to jubilee. We, the reason of our complicated state, have the willpower to undo, to change the complicated to uncomplicated. For the children to have paradise. For the children to live of expected. What Martin Luther King said, I see a dream. I see a dream. When your dream becomes reality, must be of battlefield free. That when you have a nightmare, it's only a question of what will you do? Will you reverse the complicated to uncomplicated? What must be established must be uncomplicated, no matter your dream. No matter your dream. If you woke up last night having a nightmare, you know what to establish. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Wikipedia. Wikipedia explained Juneteenth, a day of freedom. A day of freedom unto the blacks in Texas, says General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and affirmed the freedom of the blacks in Texas. Freedom from slavery. Freedom from enslavement. Yes, the blacks were enslaved, but who was more enslaved than the blacks being enslaved? Are the slave masters. Asymptomatic versus symptomatic. All have the same cure. Freedom. Freedom. When freedom is cheap, only very expensive, impossible to buy. But a need and not a want must be given for free. When it's a birthright, why will you want to make it a purchase? How do you sell your birthright? A nightmare must be reversed to the sweet dream of I see a dream. Though in a nightmare, I see a dream. Reversing the complicated to uncomplicated. This Juneteenth holiday is a federal holiday in the United States, commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in Texas. Which was on June 19th of 1865 that the general came in. Interesting how the general name is all G, a triple G, in Galveston. Triple good. Triple good in Galveston. A triple good that happened in Galveston. The freedom from enslavement. Not only the blacks were free, but the slave masters even more enslaved. Freed. When the chronic and acute can get well, there is no need for a hospital. But celebration, celebration of each other, honoring freedom. We are freedom. We are freedom. June 19th of 1865. The first celebration of this beautiful day was June 19th of 1866. Finally became a federal holiday June 19th of 2021. The first federal holiday was June 19th of 2021, enabled by our Honorable President Joe Biden. Juneteenth National Independence Day affects the whole United States, from Texas to the whole United States. And we will understand who the blacks are. They have a root. When your heart is out of the chest, the whole body is not perfected. The whole body is enslaved. Until the heart is well, can the body be functionable again. Africa, freedom from enslavement. And Europe, freedom from enslavement. Affecting the whole world. Of two divided must become one. Takes freedom. Takes reuniting. Goodbye to cruelty is reversing cruelty back to perfect peace. A Jubilee Day, the Emancipation Day, Texas Freedom Day, the world's Freedom Day. It expresses, it reflects. A Black Independence Day, being black, being black. What is the beauty of being black and free? What is the beauty of being black and free? Is freedom of the mind. Is freedom of this enslavement of the mind. Not just called free, but freedom of mental enslavement. When you're able to regain self-freedom, you will never suffer slavery, because you know the one that is more enslaved is the slave master who needs healing. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, for God has already troubled the water. Our black ancestors stand the heroes of today, being worthy. Doctors to those enslaved, the slave masters. It's time to rewind from anger. It's time to rewind from hate. and see clearly now, for the complication is gone. If not, we'll stay stumbling. We are the brave, black and strong. Takes the awareness of diagnosis to seek wellness. How are blacks enslaved? It's like a nurse unto a patient. Though you are in the hospital, does not mean you are sick, but a nurse to the patient. If you call yourself a patient being a nurse, even more sick you are than the patient. It's time for blacks to awaken from their nightmare, to realize the freedom here is freedom unto the masters, enslaving. The slave masters were those who needed healing, are those free. When we express of expected, we reach our end goal of expected. We heal the world of expected. The more we keep on emphasizing of us blacks being the slave, to the slave masters, we fail to read between the lines. A nurse being slave to the patient is of dominion over the patient. Is someone hearing me out here? It's time to help the children read in between the lines of expected. Enough of the downgrading of self. We have been failing, and that is why we still struggle with the mindset of enslavement. Not being able to approach black slavery of expected. No matter how much we cry freedom, no matter how many celebrations we will never be free. Like the cup of Holy Grail upside down, we will be poured into, poured onto us is the wine, knowledge, but we are unable to be filled because we are upside down, though we know we are the Holy Grail. It's time to realize the true freedom is for the slave masters. Not being able to understand this will keep us deprived from the masters that we are. The game changer. The game changer is here. I dream a dream. Though walking in the nightmare, I have the solution to the problem. We are the solution to the problem. It is of the mind. It is of the mind and not what we see alone. We must walk of what we see. We must walk of what we see, not neglecting the mind's ability of thinking, of walking the math. Here is the aftermath. Here is the aftermath of not understanding what is going on because of anger, because of hate, holding onto the past complicatedly, not understanding the actions of expected. The one with the mental health problem, needing help, is not black, it's the white. May sound confusing. Must understand why the drunken car is the one all over the road. Yet it's our place to humble ourselves and get them humbled. Not only self, because no matter how you humble yourself, without enabling them to humble themselves, will they still keep on going all over the road? Restraining others is the last resort, but rehabilitation is the only way. We must be able to have therapeutic communication. Juneteenth, National Independence Day. The blacks celebrate freedom. Freedom from what takes the healing of the slaved one. Without the healing of the slaved one, how free are we of humbleness? Being humble is not enough. We must be able to tame the furious one. Our humbleness must be able to tame the furious one. Our peace must be able to still the storm. Being black. Being black comes with wisdom. The roots testify. Being black is not just by your sight, it's by your thinking. Free yourself from mental slavery by just what you see, but of what your mama taught you. Respect. Respect. How do you gain respect? It's not only by how you respect yourself, but how someone else respects you. You must ensure someone else respects you when you respect yourself. No matter how humble you are, if the other is not humble, your humbleness is not enough. The other must be able to be humble, and it takes therapeutic communication, not arrogance, not low self-esteem, but humble pride. Humble pride. Teach the children well and let them lead the way. It is time to be black. It is time to be real black. Not just camouflaging black, but real black in the soul. Not just outwardly black, but real black in the mind. It's awareness of diagnosis seeking wellness. Black, being black. Is desperate for completion and not just a half being, but a whole. We are black, must be the true black of one, indivisible, is of one mind, approaching the storm. We must stand for our right. Approaching the storm, you must be able to tame the storm. The storm can never take over you. Peace births the storm. The storm can never override peace. Peace does not grow old. Peace does not age out. But the storm ages out. The storm grows weak and ages out. But peace never changes. Peace is eternal. Peace takes care of the storm. With rehab back to perfect peace, we must be able to understand how we rule. Being black, the origin of all being. Go back to the roots of the mind of battlefield free seeking, reversing the complicated to lessons, enabling uncomplication of the complicated. Black Independence Day. Being independent is being perfect peace and not the storm. Rage does not solve rage. Juneteenth. The freedom of the enslaved blacks of Texas affects the freedom of the enslaved blacks of America, United States of America, affects the freedom of the enslaved slaves, enslaved blacks of America, enslaved blacks of Africa, enslaved blacks of the world. To understand the mind that is enslaved is the disorientated mind of cruelty breeding, hate breeding should not be of the free mind. The mind of wisdom will not dwell with cruelty, will not hate, but understand one who hates is one who needs freedom. One who enslaves is one who needs freedom. You cannot enslave me. The flesh is only a cloud you chase after, only a mirror for you to see yourself through. Whatever you do to it is unto you. For when the flesh gives way, will you see your true self? The painting on this wall is your image. How you paint it is up to you. I will do my part and up to you to do your part. For the mirror is for us all, not just for me. Must I ensure what I inscribe on the mirror be of expected, a role model for you to follow and up to you to follow. Be a true black, independent, not only a follower, but a follower with a choice. Not only a follower, but a follower with a choice of right. That when you follow of right, you instead be the leader of the one leading, instead following you. It is time to teach the children well. Peace steals the storm back to peace that has no storm, looking unto perfect peace. We honor this day by reshaping the mind to expect it. It is time to know who we are. The image of truth, the image of black is still the night, holy night. The storm is impossible to dwell too long, impossible to tarry too long, for God has already troubled the water. When trouble is peace, God has already stilled the storm. Peace steals the storm back to peace that has no storm, looking unto perfect peace. The white needs healing. The blacks are capable. It is time to realize the white needs healing and the blacks are capable. We enrich ourselves this day of the truth. We are the healer of the storm. Peace steals the storm back to peace that has no storm, looking unto perfect peace. Have a glorious Juneteenth, emancipating self from mental slavery. Royalties of peace stealing the storm. I believe in us. I believe in us, the true us. Perfect peace. Thank you for watching.